For many people around the world, the idea of marriage is connected to love, partnership, and building a life together. It is a celebration of a bond between two individuals who choose to share their future. However, in some parts of the world, where life is filled with danger and uncertainty, marriage can take on a very different meaning. In countries like Iran, Afghanistan, and Syria, daily existence can be a struggle against conflict, oppression, and a severe lack of opportunity. The constant threat of violence, political instability, and the absence of basic freedoms can make life unbearable for many ordinary citizens. In these challenging environments, the dream is not always about finding a soulmate. Sometimes, the most urgent dream is simply to find a way out. Imagine waking up every day not knowing if you or your family will be safe, or if your children will have a chance at a proper education and a peaceful future. For countless individuals, especially young women, the desire to escape becomes the most powerful force in their lives. They look at the world beyond their borders and see a life of safety, freedom, and possibility that seems completely out of reach from where they stand. This deep yearning for a better life can lead people to consider options they would never have otherwise contemplated. The situations in these nations are complex and deeply rooted in years of conflict and social turmoil. In Syria, a prolonged civil war has left cities in ruins and displaced millions of people, erasing any sense of normalcy or security. In Afghanistan, the return of a restrictive regime has severely limited the rights and freedoms of women, closing doors to education and employment and creating an atmosphere of fear. In Iran, ongoing political and economic pressures, combined with strict social rules, make it difficult for young people to envision a bright or independent future within their own homeland. These are not just abstract problems, they are the daily realities that shape every decision. Faced with such overwhelming obstacles, the instinct for survival takes over. People begin to search for any possible pathway to safety and a more stable existence. Traditional routes like education or professional visas may be impossible to obtain due to closed borders, financial barriers, or restrictive government policies. This is where the institution of marriage can transform from a personal commitment into a strategic and often desperate escape plan. It becomes a key that might unlock a door to another country, offering a glimmer of hope in what feels like a hopeless situation. The decision is rarely made lightly. It is born from a profound need to survive and to find a place where one can simply live without fear. The practice of arranged marriage has been a part of many cultures for centuries, often seen as a way to unite families and maintain social structures. In these arrangements, families typically play a central role in selecting a spouse for their son or daughter, focusing on compatibility in terms of social standing, religion, and family values. While the concept might seem foreign to some, it is a deeply embedded tradition in many societies. It is a system built on the belief that families, with their wisdom and experience, can make a suitable match that will lead to a stable and successful union for the couple involved. However, in the context of escaping a difficult or dangerous country, the purpose of an arranged marriage can shift dramatically. Instead of being about uniting two local families, it can become a strategic alliance to facilitate migration. A family in Iran or Afghanistan, for example, might actively seek a match for their daughter with a man who is already living abroad in a safer, more prosperous country like Canada, Germany, or the United States. The primary qualification for a potential husband is no longer his local reputation or family background, but his foreign passport and his ability to sponsor a spouse for residency. The arrangement becomes less about the couple and more about the destination. This process often happens through family networks that stretch across continents. Relatives or community members who have already settled abroad act as matchmakers, connecting families back home with single men in their new communities. The potential groom might be looking for a wife from his own culture, and the family back home is looking for a lifeline for their daughter. The conversations are practical and direct. Can he provide a safe home? Can he complete the necessary immigration paperwork? The emotional connection between the prospective bride and groom often becomes a secondary consideration, overshadowed by the urgent need for a visa and a plane ticket. For the young woman at the center of such an arrangement, the choice is rarely a simple one. She may have never met the man she is expected to marry, or perhaps she has only spoken to him briefly over a video call. She is asked to place her entire future in the hands of a near stranger, leaving behind everyone and everything she has ever known. Yet, when the alternative is a life without freedom, education, or basic safety, This arranged marriage can feel like the only viable option. It is a tremendous sacrifice. A gamble made in the hope that a life of security in a new country is worth the price of marrying someone she does not know or love. Marriage is one of the few channels that can significantly simplify the often complex and difficult process of international migration. For many countries, spousal sponsorship is a recognized and relatively direct pathway to residency and eventual citizenship. When a citizen or permanent resident of a country marries a foreign national, they can typically apply to bring their spouse to live with them. This legal framework, designed to unite families, unintentionally creates a powerful incentive for those seeking to escape desperate situations. A marriage certificate can become more powerful than a university degree or a job offer when it comes to crossing borders. Consider the story of a young woman from a small Syrian town. Her home has been ravaged by war, her school has been destroyed, and her future looks bleak. She dreams of becoming a doctor, but there are no opportunities for her to study. Then her family receives a proposal from a man living in Sweden. He is a Syrian who left years ago and is now a Swedish citizen. Marrying him offers her a legal and legitimate way to leave Syria and move to a country where she can be safe, pursue her education, and build a new life. For her, this marriage is not about romance. It is about survival and the chance to reclaim her dreams from the ashes of conflict. The journey is not without its challenges. The couple must prove to immigration officials that their marriage is genuine and not just a transaction for a visa. This involves extensive paperwork, interviews, and a long waiting period filled with anxiety. They must submit photos, communication logs, and personal statements to build a case for their relationship. Despite these hurdles, the promise of what lies on the other side is a powerful motivator. The prospect of living in a society where women can walk freely, speak their minds, and work in any profession they choose is a stark contrast to the oppressive reality they are trying to leave behind. Once the visa is approved and the journey is made, the new life begins. It is a world away from the constant fear and limitations of their home country. Suddenly, opportunities that were once unthinkable become real possibilities. They can enroll in language classes, continue their education, and find meaningful work. The simple act of walking down a peaceful street without fear can feel like an incredible gift. While the marriage itself may be complicated and require a great deal of adjustment, the freedom and security it provides can be truly life-changing, offering a new beginning that would have been impossible to achieve otherwise. While marriage as an escape route can open the door to safety and opportunity, it is a path filled with profound personal and emotional complexities. The decision to marry a stranger, or someone you barely know, is a monumental gamble. The relief of escaping a dangerous situation is often followed by the challenging reality of building a life with a person with whom you may have little in common. There is no guarantee of emotional connection, mutual respect, or happiness. The person who was a savior on paper can turn out to be controlling, unsupportive, or even abusive in person. The person who migrates through such a marriage often finds themselves in an extremely vulnerable position. They arrive in a new country, where they may not know the language, have no friends or family for support, and are completely dependent on their new spouse. This dependency, financially, socially, and legally, can create a significant power imbalance in the relationship. If the marriage becomes unhappy or unsafe, the fear of losing their residency status can trap them in a difficult situation. They may feel they have no choice but to endure hardship, as the alternative could mean being sent back to the very place they risked everything to escape. Furthermore, there is the emotional toll of leaving everything behind. The joy of safety is mixed with the deep sorrow of losing one's home, culture, and connection to loved ones. Phone calls and video chats can never replace the physical presence of family and the comfort of familiar surroundings. The person may struggle with feelings of isolation, loneliness, and a sense of guilt for leaving others behind. They are caught between two worlds: their past, which they could no longer endure, and their present, which may not be the dream they had hoped for. It is a heavy emotional burden to carry while also navigating a new culture and a complex marital relationship. Ultimately, choosing marriage as a means of escape is a testament to the human spirit's desperate search for a better life. It is not a decision born of convenience but of necessity, often made when all other doors are closed. It highlights the stark global inequalities that force individuals into making such heartbreaking choices. While we may hope for a world where no one has to make such a sacrifice, for now, it remains a painful but sometimes necessary strategy for survival. It is a complex, high-stakes choice that brings both the promise of a new dawn and the shadow of lasting personal consequences.